Kaylee, and all in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Adoption of the minutes. I'll make that motion. Seconder,
Second.
David, in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, so I guess we go now to
Updates.
David, update.
Yeah, sorry, my computer's suddenly not working properly and I've lost the agenda. Oh, finally, I'm getting it. No, it's kind of frozen. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I can't get the agenda. I don't know, it's all, my computer's just sitting still. What do I have to update about since I can't see the agenda?
It just a council update. So you would normally do like
Okay.
council or BIMTAC would come after that. Just
Okay, yeah, I'll do one Metro Vancouver update. Remember, we sent a note to council to deal with the CARIP concerns, the CARIP stopping. So that went to the board. The board sent a letter to the province. The board then asked the Climate Action Committee to elaborate a little bit more and say what's wrong, what needs to be done. So I was in a meeting on that a couple of days ago, and so they are sending a letter to the province as well, and saying that there were a few concerns and things that need to be dealt with. One is that for some smaller municipalities, the funds were so small that it took more staff time to kind of work on it than the money was worth almost. And I know it was pretty close to that for Bowen. But two other things is that they wanted the money, any money in the future, to be ongoing stable funding rather than grant type funding, where you might get a big win and then you might get nothing for a long time. And the kind of things that are attractive projects, maybe get politically attractive projects get funded, but some things that need to be done might not get done. So that was one thing. And the other thing that they wanted the new program to not just be about neutrality, climate neutrality, carbon neutrality for the municipality itself, but for the community. So programs towards carbon reductions community-wide rather than just for the municipality. Municipality tracking its own emissions, it's really looking at the whole community's emissions. So those were, so there's been, and looking at other information, it seems like there was letters from pretty well every regional district, every community, every municipality. So presumably the province heard the message and will come up with something. What else? I can't think of anything else particularly. Council, not that I can think of.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, David, would you be able to relay the decision made last night about the Ecclestone?
Sure.
I know,
The Ecclestone.
yeah.
Okay. So that was one of these things there where you sort of wonder why on earth you ran for political office, because you've got nearly an hour of people saying how this is one of the worst things that could happen in the world if this gets approved. And 100 or more letters. So I guess I'll tell you my position, because I was kind of, well, no, Allison gave her position, but then I gave mine. And my position, is everyone aware of really what it was about? Yeah, okay. So my position is that we need to protect public access to the ocean. Most of us don't live on the ocean. We don't have that kind of property, and so we need access. And one of the ways of access is really important is through public right of ways that get to little pocket beaches, neighborhood type beaches. And so the Friends of Ecclestone Beach worked on trying to do that from this right of way. They proposed a staircase that would be built, metal staircase. I went several times and looked at it, looked at where it would land, looked at it in low tides, high tides. And the problem is the staircase goes from the right of way to the middle of the foreshore, to the intertidal zone, to the intertidal zone. It goes right down into the rocks. It doesn't get to the beach. It's a long walk from there to the beach over really grim, nasty rocks that are submerged at high tide. So I felt that access didn't work. And so I then supported the building of the dock because there would be a permanent access to the beach that would go, whether he gets approval from the province or not, there is now permanent access to the beach through a statutory right of way through that fellow's property, or that, I shouldn't say that fellow. He was the one who spoke about it all the time, but it was a family. I don't know how many people live in it. So although lots of people spoke against docks, and I understand that, at least I understand some of that, to me, the higher priority was public access. So other councillors agreed, and only one, and it was Sue Ellen, who voted against it, but the rest of us voted in favor of basically allowing the dock that would give a statutory right of way going across this fellow's property, or this couple's property, to this little pocket beach. So that's kind of what happened. And as I said, this was, a lot of my friends were saying you should never do this, and I had to take a position that was based on the principles that I had. So not easy, not pleasant. But that was a decision. So, whether you agree or disagree with it, that's where council went.
Thanks, David.
Okay.
Poor David.
Yeah. Yeah. Who wants
That was at hour 13 when that all happened.
Yeah. No, really. Who wants to do that? Nobody. Okay. Next.
Okay. Committee updates. My goodness, the sea is
Yeah.
coming in.
That's not in my house. I don't know.
I could give a little update on Parks and Trails, and maybe, I don't know, David, if you wanted to first maybe give an update about BIMTAC. Any news from BIMTAC?
Well, we're having a BIMTAC meeting. I think it's next week. So I've got nothing from there. One thing I guess I could say, I've also got a meeting coming up. Might be this week, might be next week. I forget. With the Bowen Transportation Society. A couple of members of that society have said that their employers are expecting them to go back to work 3 days a week in the office starting September. So, and I'm hearing that around a little bit. So then the question becomes, okay, when do we need to start getting that bus going again so that people can commute through the bus? And we'll have this meeting coming up in a few days, and probably what'll happen is we'll send another note going out to all the members asking, okay, folks, what are you thinking? Because the thing is, they'd be renting a bus, and they've got to rent a bus that's the right size, so that so they got to be able to cover their costs, which is not easy.
Yeah, and I guess that 3 days a week thing is going to complicate the schedule too. Like there might be days when there's very few people wanting to use the bus, and other days when everybody and their dog has to go to an important meeting. So I think that adds more complexity to the
It
the
does.
whole
It makes it really hard. And I think I've also told everybody that the Bowen Transportation Society is going to apply for the on-island contract. So they could, it helps a lot because you've got to have someone manage the whole business. And if you've got a bigger business, it's easier to pay someone to manage it. And that would also, when we had things like the ferry suddenly stopped running, in the last month, and Gary and Maureen were driving people back home and so on, but the bus wasn't there because it's not operated on the island. So it could help solve island transportation issues if they had that contract, but also, help do the commuter business as well. So, from a GHG perspective, we need better bus service. Let's see how that develops.
Would the intent then be to extend the routes as well as the time?
Michaela, it's tricky because it's TransLink service. So we'd be a subcontractor for TransLink. TransLink tells you what to do. Now we'd want flexibility so that we would be able to, for instance, have on-island charter service, which we don't have anymore. There's been a note from Peter King. He's already had, I don't know, a dozen or 20 different weddings asking for Peter to provide charter service. Peter doesn't have a bus anymore. He doesn't have any way of doing that. So if we had an on-island service that had a charter element to it, we could again be helping people out on the island. So Michaela, it's a really hard question to answer. That's what we would be aiming to do. Oh yeah, I got one other update. I think I might have mentioned in the last meeting that we had a meeting with our member of parliament. He talked about the climate plan, and one of the elements of the climate plan is this 250 million fund that would go to creative rural transportation solutions. And so I've sent a note to Patrick's staff and to Patrick. What the first step we need on that is to know whether we'd be classified as rural. We might or we might not be, and that's sort of and that hasn't gone through Treasury Board yet. Is when that goes through Treasury Board, that's when all the details are, and that's when we can find out whether we can then apply to this and use some of the experience that we gained when we had that on-demand service back a couple of years ago. So yeah, those are. I keep thinking of new updates. I think maybe that's it.
That's
Motion again.
you just have to wonder where that's coming from. But Bonnie, did you have a Parks and Trails update?
Sure, just a couple of items. We are looking at putting possibly a boat rack down at Seymour Bay. Seymour Bay is starting to get more houses built. We had some property owners there, some new residents of Bowen come forward to the Parks and Trails Committee asking for a boat rack down there. So we're currently looking at options for placement at Seymour Bay. I mean, it is one of our areas where we do have a waterfront park where we own the upland, which is great. So that would be coming to council, as racks are great. And I think it's a wonderful thing to keep some semblance of order of our self-held watercraft. However, it doesn't go without a cost. So we're just looking at that. And then a cost, not only a minor capital cost, but also the staffing resources involved in keeping some semblance of order sometimes. And then also just the cleaning and also removal of those boats that have been left and abandoned. And then the other thing is the Parks and Trails Committee is doing a writing series of different articles in the undercurrent and on our social media. And so we start off with a kickoff article about the committee, introducing the members of the committee and introducing the writing series. And this is part of a Parks Plan initiative. It's based on a recommendation in the Parks Plan. And the second article was about the child-friendly spaces, playscapes. And that was our first article because the West Side Playscape group, which is going into full fundraising mode very soon to raise funds for expansion to the West Side Playscape. So that was nicely timed sort of to highlight that park that is underutilized right now, but will be going under a transformation if the funds are raised by the group. And then the third article is written by one of our members, Phil Osborne, who's PhD coastal. He's not a coastal engineer, he's a geomorphologist. And he wrote a great article on coastal processes. So we're going to sort of make it a little bit, pare it down a little bit, and but we might have the full article on our website. So there's lots of it was a really great engagement of all the committee. They submitted different articles, and they're all sort of linked to initiatives that are in the park plan. And then, the two, Carla's not here right now, but I just wanted to just put it out there because we do have it on our social media, is we are currently working on the staircase out at the Mount Garner dock. It's been broken for a while. And so actually today or tomorrow, we're fixing that with new big, huge rock steps and some shoring up of the shoreline there because lots of erosion going on there. And the other one is Mike's Lorg. Is the bridge did break last year, or it was deemed unsafe last year. And so because horses use that trail system, the bridge has to be engineered to withstand the weight of a horse and rider. So Carla's done a lot of work on that, and we have budgeted for it this year. So, but we also have to do it in the correct window, fisheries window. So unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit of a wait before that is completed. And Carla did meet with Byhora. Maybe you could speak to that, because that was a really important piece, because not all of our trails are used by horse riders, but those that are, the infrastructure has to be different for them, not only from the substrate. You don't want jagged substrate. You need like 3-inch or 3/4 inch minus. You don't want bigger than that. It can be sharp. It hurts the horse's feet. And also the bridges have to be designed for their weight. So Carla, you did meet with Byhora, didn't you? Went over the different trails.
Yeah, I met with Bahor, and yeah, we went over maps of all of the trails and figured out all of the spots that we need horse bridges. It's going to be really good, I think, just to be able to use the resources that we have in the right places, not over engineer anything. So
Yeah. So that, I think that's everything.
I'd like to pass on kudos to the work done on the Mount Gardner dock. I was there just the other day, and it's beautiful. And the railings are I've got a comment on too, is putting them on just a slight angle so that the water and the rainwater and the seagull droppings are washed away by that rain is a brilliant stroke, because you know, that's just one of those nice little design features to give kudos to. So
that's
great.
Nice. That's nice, Will. That's great. Yeah.
they're down there today. Some of the stairs got washed away for the pedestrian access beside the dock.
Yep.
So right after they got part of that fixed, they had replaced a couple of stairs, and then they just got destroyed in a storm. So they're down there today actually replacing them with just large boulders. And so it'll be stone steps down, just because the water just comes up so high there. I think there's no point in trying to replace it with wood again. So that's park staff are on it.
Yep. Great stuff.
That's great. Good.
And
I'm sorry.
I want to give Bonnie some kudos about the boat racks. So so my neighborhood beach is a King Edward Bay beach, and Bonnie came down to the beach a couple of summers ago saying, come on, you got to clean this up. And I think I had 3 boats spread out on various logs all over them, and so did everybody else. And I thought, oh, come on, Bonnie, leave us alone. Anyway, we went and cleaned out all the blackberries, and we had local folks build a really nice rack, and all the boats got into the rack. There's way more room to sit around, and it was a great job. So thanks, Bonnie, for making us.
Oh, thanks. And I think Carla was involved in that too. But I was just down at that beach, and it looks so nice. It seems so orderly, and yeah. So I was really happy to see that, and yeah, it's great. It's such a it's part of our culture here, right? Our self-propelled watercraft, right? So yeah, well, that's great. And I don't know if I finished with the committee updates, but I don't know if it's staff updates next. I can stop.
That is next on the list.
Okay, good. I don't have a lot of things to bring up. Just Carla and I are working on the SEEP, the draft, and we will bring that to this committee hopefully in July, just to have a look at the Community Energy and Emissions Plan update. So that's still in the works. We've been going back and forth with some edits for the draft document. We're working with Stewardship Center BC on a Green Shores custom brochure, which I'll just show you just a draft version of that. It's just been great. Oh, if I do have it. Maybe I have it there. I'm sorry, I thought I had it up, but anyway, I will share it once we've finalized that with the committee. It's very good. It's bone customized. The only problem is that a lot of the Green Shores principles are for sort of sandy beaches, which we have some, but a lot of our coastline is very rugged, and so different principles apply. But anyway, they've been really helpful and helped us with a customized brochure that we'll be finalizing. And also we've been working with Metro Vancouver folks with regards to invasives and invasive plants. And they have used their resources and produced a Bowen-specific, Bowenized brochure for us, which was really great because they're really tapped out their resources with staff, but they were very, very good. They modified version that they had, and they put in gorse for us and made it more Bowen specific. But we will be looking at that. We're almost there to the finalized product, but we will bring that forward to this committee once it is finalized, but we're almost there with that. So that's really great. Yeah, and I think that's about it.
That's great. Thank you, Bonnie. And welcome, Maureen. Good to have you. So Maureen, what we've done is we've skipped ahead to do the updates. So we haven't covered the subcommittee reports and the discussions about the CARIP grant. So
thank you, Will, and my apologies for being late.
So and I'm just looking at the. So
yes, I think that's the end of updates. Did you want to go back to the top then?
Yep.
Well, okay.
Yep.
So that would be the sustainability.
Yep, sustainability committee report. So Carla.
Hi. Okay, excuse me if I'm having a lot of technical difficulties today, so hopefully you can hear me, and I'm just on my phone now, so I don't have my computer working or anything, but so last time we had a lot of questions for the greenhouses group, Thrive Bowen, and I emailed them after the meeting, and they got back to me really quickly with all the additional information. So we've got confirmation from the Kwantlen Institute for Sustainable Food Systems. We have confirmation from them. We have a more detailed budget for that portion of their budget. I think part of it, most of it was going to the Kwantlen Institute for Food Systems. Like that was the bulk of their budget. So they've actually detailed that in an Excel spreadsheet that we sent along. And then we do have all of the letters that they mentioned, including one from our own municipal council. They sent us more information about just the group members. And then we also sent along the rankings from the subcommittee. So everyone sent those out, and I sent those in a table in an email. And those were based on the criteria that were included in the in our criteria for the grant. So those came out. Those were sent out, I think, at least the first round last meeting. So I'm not sure if they're on this this agenda as well. So did anyone have any other questions, or was that enough information?
Maureen, do you have more questions? Well, I do. I looked at the budget, and the first item on the budget is soil testing. And they say they want to test one site. And I'm a little concerned about that because doing some research about use of soil in greenhouses, the general statements are that soil quality and viability varies greatly over an area like an island, or it can even vary greatly in one field. And so I'm a little confused as to why they're just planning to sample from one site, and what site would that be? And so that's a point of concern for me. The other thing I did was and looking at the budget there, the research associate site one visit and that kind of thing. I'm looking at the activities, but I'm not seeing any analysis of the different types of greenhouse operations you can have. You know, that ranges from using native soil to using hydroponics with artificial soil or almost no soil at all. And so I think that's a big gap. And so and then finally, I sent around a checklist done by the Canadian and BC governments about what you need to think about when you're thinking about a community-based greenhouse. And I sent that around early this morning. I don't know if anybody's had a chance, but frankly, that's the work plan that this group should have, is looking at that and making their decisions on that. And so I've got some concerns there. So that's my my spiel.
McKaylee, I
Will-
think we're getting a lot of feedback, McKaylee, sometime from just, yeah, I think maybe, don't mean to single you out.
Sorry, Will, I can't really answer your questions because I didn't actually review it myself, but I'm just wondering, did you look at any of the reports? They did send some links. So in the email that I sent you, there were some links to some of the work that that the Kwantlen ISFS did. And I'm wondering if that's going to, as an example, well, they have some examples of similar projects that they did, and I wonder if they will answer all those questions within the project.
Good question. I don't know. I don't see it laid out very user-friendly for review, but as always, I have strong views, lightly held.
They had a much longer application. I think the application that they sent to us was a really short version because they had applied for some COVID funding. I had forwarded that to you guys for the letters, and I think it was like a 200-page long application, which I didn't go over myself.
Yeah.
I thought personally, I thought I had enough information, but I do think you'd bring up some important points.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure how to answer those questions, whether we need to go back to the group or not, or make suggestions to them, or how to go forward.
Well, do other members of the committee have comments or?
Yeah, I'll
Yep,
share
Jeff.
a couple kind of as follow-up to yours. Well, I think you have brought up some good and interesting and well thought out points that hopefully this group will take those and use that as feedback as they kind of go forward in their development of their work. I went through the materials that Carla sent around, and in I guess just enough depth to kind of feel that I think the money that CARIP can provide to them would be a good and meaningful contribution to the group. I think that they're heading in the right direction. I think they've got good people and a plan. And that I feel like that the grant money that they can use will be going to something that I think they will make good use of and make good progress toward this issue and the concept. So I don't have any concerns that the CARIP money wouldn't be used well and contribute to a worthwhile initiative, despite the fact that there may be some thoughts or opinions or some contributions that they could take from some of your thoughts and others that that could be raised and brought in. So that's my feeling.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. David?
A little bit, I think. So I went through bits of your the thing you sent around this morning, Will. I didn't go through it in detail, but it looked very good to me. And it was from credible organizations, BC government, and I forget who else. But I agree with Jeff that there's good people involved here who should know what they're doing. But it would seem to me, and so I'm not worried about it. But you raise good points, and I don't see any reason why you couldn't just contact them yourself. And David Adams is the lead person on this. Send a little note to David. Hey, glad to be supporting this. Just wondering about some of your plans, and share that document with them. Does it align with this? And nothing wrong with that, it seems to me.
Yep. Maureen?
I'm leaning in the same direction. This is, did I miss this at the last meeting? This is much more information than we were provided with previously. The extent of the community support, the community pledges, is really quite significant here. And their budget is much more specific. I think it's quite well thought through, and I agree that if there are some takeaways from the material you circulated this morning, Will, that there is enough brain power in this to be able to take a look at that document and figure out what would be useful.
Yep.
And I think they'd welcome a conversation with you as well.
Yep. Kaylee, any comments? Okay, and Bonnie? Okay, well,
I have
go ahead, Steph.
with the Community Grants Advisory Committee, they recommend their grants to council, and council is the one who decides. But when the money is gifted, it comes with a letter, and that's an opportunity for the committee to provide feedback on the project. So if we were to follow the same model, then perhaps Carla could be the stick handler of that. And I've taken notes. Maybe that would work.
All right. So I think with that discussion, I think it's time to look at that recommendations option.
So I've looped in the because there was a recommendation last meeting about the uncharted waters.
Yep.
So it's whereas on May 25th, Council directed the committee to discuss options for the disbursement of 2019 climate CARIP funds. And whereas the grant was $4,000, and whereas May 26th, ECAAC recommended $1,500 be allocated to Uncharted Waters project. Therefore, be it resolved that the committee recommend that council allocate the remaining CARIP funds of $2,500 to Thrive Bowen to conduct an implementation analysis of community-owned commercial greenhouses on Bowen Island.
So that's actually $1,000 more than they're requesting. But it is the unallocated portion of the CARIP fund.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Bonnie.
The subcommittee, I was just curious on how the subcommittee came to that amount for the greenhouse project, the $2,500. Was it just because it was the leftover money to be allocated? Was the rationale?
I'm concerned about the other projects. These were the two best projects by far, and that there were some real questions about the other projects.
Well, if we grant them more, it might be a way to help them leverage higher pledges from community members as well.
Yeah. And I take it the subcommittee supports that idea, and that it's as David was saying, one of the two outstanding applications. So that makes sense. Is that okay for you, Maureen?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so shall we make this recommendation? All in favor? Looks like it's carried unanimously. Well done, everyone. And now we're going to put Jeff on the pedestal here. Pesticide Bylaw Subcommittee report.
Okay, thank you, Will. Yeah, so I'm speaking on behalf of our little committee, which was Bonnie and Will and Don and myself. And last meeting, we updated you on our progress toward developing a draft bylaw to regulate pesticides on Bowen Island. And we've met a couple of times since then. And today, well, we're pleased to present a draft bylaw for your consideration and further discussion by Climate Action Advisory Committee. Now, it was only sent out this morning and late item, and most of you will probably not have had a chance to review the text yet. So today is just an introduction to the bylaw and share with you our approach and some of the components to it, flag a couple of items that were at kind of the heart or the center of our discussions, and we'll go from there, and got some time for some initial Q&A. The process that we're looking, or we're suggesting that we follow is after today's kind of introduction and initial comments and discussion, that we're hoping to get some further comments from the committee in the next couple of weeks. And then Bonnie will incorporate some of those edits and suggestions, and then the subcommittee will meet as required to discuss any, and come back at our next committee meeting with a revised version of the bylaw, incorporating any changes or edits, with the intention of being able to make a recommendation to council about the bylaw. I think I've said that process that we had intended correctly, Bonnie and Will. Okay.
Yep.
We all had our own kind of various contributions to the development of it, but Bonnie needs to be acknowledged for steering this and for completing all the hard work of actually constructing kind of the base text for it. So Bonnie's done a great job on that front. I mentioned, or we mentioned at our last meeting, that most of the pesticide bylaws in BC are fairly similar to each other. So this one is not unlike many others that you could pick out for many municipalities in British Columbia and perhaps other parts of Canada as well too. There is a little bit of variability, and we did take what we thought were kind of the best bits of each. And I wonder if, Steph, if you might be able to share the draft bylaw just on the first page for now.
Sure. Can you see more things? Just give me a sec. Does anyone have any comments or questions on Jeff's?
Jeff, I was wondering if you might also talk a little bit about what we thought about rodenticides.
Yeah, I do have that. I do have a couple things to say kind of upfront still, and maybe while that's coming up. One of the, if you've been able to open it and have a look so far, you will see a little bit of a preamble that expands upon some of the need for a bylaw. And initially we had a very basic component that talked about the ability of Bowen Island to regulate pesticides on the island, and that was expanded to include some broader rationale for it. We certainly see the need to have some companion educational material that will go alongside, but that we thought that the draft bylaw would benefit from having some of that rationale kind of baked right into it at the very beginning. So that's where some of the introductory whereas comments come from. Yeah, that's the part up front there. And that varies from different bylaws. This came from one particular one on Vancouver Island, some of those statements, and then it was brought into where we thought it was appropriate for us. Scrolling down just a little bit, there under definitions, there's one in particular to highlight, and that's around the definition of what a pesticide is. Yeah, right there. So we have pesticides can include herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, and rodenticides. And many bylaws in British Columbia dealing with pesticides tend to focus on herbicides, fungicides, and insecticides. And rodenticides is a more complicated issue. And there's a human health element to it. Many bylaws, pesticide bylaws, don't deal with it explicitly at this point. I think I'm saying that correctly. There is some work being done by some municipalities around researching how to best regulate rodenticides. It is a bit of a complicated issue, and we have decided to focus on the herbicide, fungicide, and insecticide component first, and leave out the rodenticide for a later time until some of the kind of policy work and research has been done in BC to kind of help guide or advance this aspect of it. And perhaps at some point in the future, we can revisit rodenticides, perhaps as a bylaw amendment or a new bylaw or with some such mechanism. So that's where the focus is so far. The ability to regulate pesticides by municipality is defined in the BC Integrated Pest Management Regulations. So there are certain things that, certain aspects or elements that of pesticides that can be regulated. And that's discussed a little bit later. Steph, if you could scroll down to part 3 and part 4. Now there's the nub of it there under 3.1, and under 4.1 talks about some of the exemptions to the pesticide regulation. And these are all items that are defined within the Integrated Pest Management Regulation. So there is not the ability to regulate pesticides with respect to residential areas of farms, for agriculture and forestry, and for applied to buildings or inside buildings. So we're talking about, you know, termites here or something like that. And yeah, transportation and other public utilities as well too. We had some discussion around the specific definition of agriculture, forestry, transportation, and public utilities. Does that apply to, you know, any road on Bowen Island, for example, for transportation, including someone's driveway, or is that referring to, you know, road allowances under the purview of the province, for example? So the definitions back at the beginning don't need to go back there, but they do reflect some particular specific interpretation of agriculture, forestry, transportation, and public utilities that kind of help to tighten that up. Okay, the remaining portions are around enforcement and how to apply for a permit. There are certainly certain situations where use of pesticides is appropriate. So this kind of spells out the method of being able to obtain a permit to do so. And I think I'll leave it there. So that's basically the high level. Will and Bonnie, are there any other kind of key elements or components that we might want to kind of highlight on our approach before kind of opening it up for larger discussion?
I think you've done a really good job there, Jeff.
Okay.
So does anybody have a comment or question? I see David's got both his real hand and his virtual hand up.
Yeah, a couple of points, and this is really fantastic work. Really pleased to see this done so well. And your presentation right now, Jeff, was really good. You answered a bunch of the questions that I had. I went through it really quickly this morning, and what I was going to have to do is, go to the definitions and really try to understand it, and then go to the links of looking at the Act and figure out what the Act says. So I really understood what this means and so on. But you answered a lot of that. I think a couple of things here, and I think first of all, yes, we should all have a look at it in detail and send you comments back. I don't know if you'll get any from me, but maybe. I think your decision about rodenticides is a wise one. Is get this first phase done, and then we'll see when we get more information on that one whether that's appropriate for us to move. But to go in steps is often a good way to go when you're bringing something new into a community. Third, I think to me this is so good that it sort of kind of sets a standard for what volunteer committees can do to help council out. Council asks you to go do a bunch of work. You've done a bunch of work, and from my perspective, it looks terrific. Finally, I think, Jeff, you should present it to council, because it needs to be presented the way you presented it. It needs, first of all, council will say, okay, where did this come from? Is this really weird, or is this kind of normal? And so you explained that it's kind of normal. It came from a lot of places. We picked and choose, but it's in the middle of the pack kind of thing. And then you explained what some of the definitions were, and so on, which is really important. And then you explained why we're not doing the rodenticides right now, which is thoughtful and wise. Anyway, so I think kudos all around. Really nice work for the committee, and good presentation today. And Bonnie, thanks for making this look like a for real bylaw.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Now I can't see everybody on my iPad, but I don't see it. Oh, I see Maureen's hand up there.
I just want to echo David's praise. I think this is really terrific. I haven't had an opportunity to go through it in detail, so I'll read it over, see if there's anything that concerns me. I echo the suggestion that the draft bylaw be presented by Jeff and Bonnie together. I think that really does underscore the committee work, and in light of the committee's review that we're doing at the moment, which I think will end up foregrounding the value of committee work to the strategic priorities. I think that's just an excellent idea to have both of you do the presentation, and for Jeff to do that very calm, very measured. You were great. I thought, wow, wish I could do that.
Thank you for the feedback. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. That's it.
Michaeli, any comments?
Sure, Jeff, presenting. Other than that, I just need to read through it. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right. Oh, and Carla.
Sorry. I think Michaeli asked last time about invasive species, and that there's certain invasive species that we kind of need pesticides for that the other methods won't work. And I thought that the understanding was that we couldn't regulate those for invasive species, but I don't find that clear in the bylaw. So I'm wondering if that's in part 4, 4.1b, exempted pesticides listed in the BC Integrated Pest Management Regulation. Is that what that would fall under? Because would it be certain pesticides or for certain purposes, like for plants?
So if somebody wanted to use, let's say, glyphosate on knotweed, they would have to apply for a permit. That's a pesticide. Glyphosate is a pesticide. Does that answer your question, Carla? Or
Yeah, there's no.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
are allowed to regulate it in that manner. They would just have to apply for a permit. Okay.
And things like glyphosate in that permit. So I haven't developed the permit yet. You can see that page is blank because things like glyphosate, a homeowner has to go through a certification process to actually be legally to legally apply it. So those are the questions we would ask in a permit.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, Carla, you're outlining another thing that I think is important in this process is we're committing as well to developing or at least outlining education content that would accompany the bylaw, because we think it's really important that the things are explained in more detail and in perhaps non-technical terms for islanders to have a better understanding of what this bylaw does, and also help people use pesticides or alternatives to pesticides in a wise way.
Michaela's got her hand up.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Michaela.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to check in on whether or not the permit application would be available online, just like the DP application and that sort of thing, and if that's been standardized or if that's going to be in the works. And then I also wanted to check in on whether or not there would be a fee charged with processing the application and what that might look like.
Can you handle that,
Yes.
Bonnie?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. We would have it accessible. Good reminder. And then I think I've put a $50 fee. I think
Yeah.
maybe I don't know if I did or not, but yeah, there
it's
would
there.
be that for staff time. And also, just would involve staff time.
Would there be a call for maybe doing a tiered fee system depending on the weed that you need to control? Because some of them you need repeated applications for several years in a row, or for larger areas.
That's a really good point.
Excellent
Because I mean,
point.
we definitely want people to treat certain weeds, right, in a responsible way, correctly. So that's a really good comment. I just wrote that down. So yeah.
Thank you, Michaela. That's great. Any other comments or suggestions? Well, oh, Bonnie?
I just wanted to say, and I think the subcommittee, we can discuss this, but as far as, rolling out the bylaw, I'm wondering if we need those educational materials. I just kind of was thinking about it. If we need the educational materials at the same time, and if so, we will need some more time. Or conversely, maybe because if we don't, so that's just something we could do in tandem, then that means we have to develop them. The other thing is maybe we, come back to council or come back to the committee next in July with the revised version of the bylaw. And maybe we introduce it to council with the recommendation that we introduce it to council and sort of say what we're thinking. I just have two minds there, because I don't want to present the bylaw and maybe some people would perceive it as restrictive or not covering certain things, but not have those educational materials ready. So what's the committee's thought on that, the rollout? What would be the best way?
Marie?
Just that you need to have the very strong explanatory materials about what the problem is. I know that sounds like super obvious, but I think that needs to be established first, for council. What's the problem you're trying to address?
Okay.
And for me, that matters more than the educational materials in the short run, if you have to do one or the other.
David, then McKaylee.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question about, about timing. I guess, first of all, are there materials like that that are off the shelf we can just go steal? Yeah, I think because council will say, because council will want the other materials as well, and they would worry about staff having to do a whole bunch of work. I think we should present the whole thing together, so that we say, and we've got these materials as well. So then, there's no reason for council to say, well, we have to wait or worry about the materials. You're presenting a full package all at once.
Okay. Thanks, David. And McKaylee?
I think another close follow-up to Maureen's what the problem is would be the alternative solutions. If you wanted to use this pesticide for controlling, let's say periwinkle, then this is what an alternative could be. And basically having those at the Muni's fingertips, because that's probably going to be the next question.
Yeah.
And I could add one bit more. That material that Metro Vancouver is producing, bowenizing their invasive stuff, have that as another attachment or something like that, it can, is great because there's so much detail in those. It tells you how to deal with all of these things, how you can deal with them, without, do you dig them up? Do you worry about the seeds and all that sort of stuff? It's all there.
That's great. Great point, David. I think this means we have another meeting of the subcommittee coming up to discuss this this part of it. I think we'll still want to get your feedback on the bylaw as soon as you can. And I noticed, I think McKaylee, you were offering to help out on content as well. So I think, thank you. So I think
it's light work. You guys have put in a lot of effort already. So if we can sort of distribute that, I'm sure it would be helpful.
Yeah. So maybe we'll include McKaylee in our next meeting, subcommittee meeting.
Does Wednesday, June 23rd work for a comments deadline? 3 p.m.
2:25.
2:27 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay. Wednesday, June 23rd at 2:27 p.m.
Don't say that. Okay. So I guess business arising from the minutes. Sure, well, oh, sorry, McKaylee.
I'm sorry. If we do have questions, do we just send them to Stephanie or?
If you have about the bylaw, McKaylee, if you could email those to me, everybody, and then I'll incorporate. I'll consolidate.
Thank you, McKaylee. Thank you, Bonnie.
Yes, thanks.
So let's wrap that up. The pesticide stuff. Any more comments or questions? Okay. So let's go to business arising from the minutes, the ECAAC work plan, and the 2021 island plan. So
I don't have a name beside this. I wasn't sure who was leading this.
Well, we always put it on Bonnie.
Well, I think I could go through the work plan quite quickly, and then maybe Councillor Hawking and Councillor Nicholson could go over the island plan, if that's okay.
Sure. Okay, Bonnie.
So the work plan, I don't know, Steph, you want to bring it up. I think we're doing really well. We're on the timeline, right, as we've devised it for the pesticide bylaw, which was good to see. There's a couple of items that are relevant. So yes, thank you, Steph. Thank you. So the first item was about the water use consciousness. And it's becoming relevant. Holy moly, listening to water shortages in and around North America, holy Nevada and California and such. It's quite astounding. But I don't know where the committee would like to proceed with this. We said that we maybe have some ideas for signage you know, some good taglines in May, and now we're June. This year is flying by. And the part B there, you know, does the committee think that, you know, maybe a water-wise climate conversation would be relevant and timely? I know Gillian Drake, our Recreation and Community Services Manager, she has a plant background, and she said that she would be interested in helping out with a climate conversation or being involved. And, you know, maybe we could get Kim Stevens or somebody, you know, staff could start working on getting a climate conversation. That's an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Can I open that up for comments? Just
Yeah.
what I've said there, just from the committee.
So
about items?
yeah, one of the things that comes to mind is to copy what the Parks, Trails, and Greenways Committee is doing, and doing some media stuff, articles in the Undercurrent, on the municipal website, maybe use some social media to direct people to those content sources. So that's a thought.
Anybody else? I'm just wondering about capacity amongst the committee members, knowing that we are working on the pesticide bylaw. So, you know, signage, water use consciousness. I don't know if that's something we want to tackle right now. We had said that bring ideas forward. As I say, in my, oh, David.
McKaylee?
What about looking at other islands? I know when I grew up on Salt Spring, they had a big push for water conservation, and I mean, they're in a very similar boat. They probably already have materials.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. The other point that I'd add to that is the Islands Trust has a staff member who is their freshwater specialist, who I've actually been to a workshop that he did on wells here on Bowen Island a couple of years ago, and very knowledgeable and approachable as well. So that might be another person to involve in a climate conversation. I like the idea of the climate conversation approach for a lot of this, because I think it has a longer reach than signs and that kind of thing. So that's my thought, is a well-publicized climate conversation on water stewardship and conservation might be good, very timely in July and August.
David's had his hand up.
Oh, sorry, David. Oh, your sound, David.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry. I think a climate conversation is a great idea. I'm a little worried about timing and how much time we have on our hands. I mean, it's already June, mid-June. You know, everybody's already decided what they're putting in their garden. Oh well, gardening is the biggest water use by far. Like, okay, we can have, you know, slightly shorter showers and so on, but it's nothing compared to watering outside. And so really a climate conversation around the use of plants and how best to do it in coordination with the garden club would be the best way to go, because then you could get, you know, their membership and get them to partner and have one of their members perhaps speak. I don't know. I did talk to them about this because that was something I was supposed to do, but that was way back before COVID, back when the garden club had presentations. Like, remember, Will, you gave one once and so on.
Yeah. So
I don't know where the garden club, whether I don't think they're doing online presentations and so on. I don't know.
They are.
Are they?
Yeah,
Okay,
they had Brian Minter just recently.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That would have been good. So, you know, that's a possibility, but I'm a little worried about the workload right now. In terms of information, leaflets, booklets, and all that kind of stuff, I agree with, I think it was Will said that, you know, we'll have signs that go up on the roadside saying something about, I forget what it is. It's a bit insulting, I find. It says, it sort of treats you like you're a jerk. But anyway, you know, that'll be going up soon. So everybody's already seen the signs. Most people, well, I guess I'm speaking about my area where we've had, you know, we've been up to stage 4 over the last couple of years. Sometimes everybody knows what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's more, I think the idea of having good presentations, because it's not about being stupid, it's about knowing what you can do. It's about having better systems, better plants. Yeah, there are attractive plants that don't need a lot of water and so on. Or there are good ways of watering your vegetables without soaking them, all that kind of stuff. It's useful information rather than finger wagging that we need, I think. And that's best done in a face-to-face kind of way with people who you trust and know, like a garden club combo with climate folks. Anyway, but I'm worried about the time because it's getting late and I don't know if that can be organized, and you've already got a subcommittee doing a lot of really terrific work.
Maureen?
And you mentioned Kim Stevens as well as somebody who could potentially speak. And I don't recall, has he spoken on Bowen recently or ever, or?
Not that I know of. I mean, yeah, he never has. I've never actually, I can phone him. You know, his daughter-in-law works for us here at the municipality. But you know, and ask him, because I've never actually asked him. I mean, his name has been on our work plan for a couple of years, and I've seen him present. He's a great presenter.
I've seen him present as well. Sue Ellen and I went to a number of the water sustainability conferences, not this term, last term, and a good presenter and great for big picture, but also with very deep local understanding. So, I mean, one of the things that he might be able to do would be to give an overview of innovative water conservation methods used in other municipalities. And that would not require a lot of effort on the part of the committee if he's kind of got that knowledge at his fingertips to begin with. So if you were talking with them, I mean, the opener might just simply be, we'd like to give you a space for a climate conversation. What do you think would be important for Bowen Islanders to know? And see where that goes.
That's a great idea. So as an action item, I don't mind, Carla. I hope maybe the two of us can, or I'll can phone him, or we could both be there and have the conversation with him and then promote it as an event. You know, we want to get the promotion materials out there, you know, ahead of the event. You know, hopefully he would be willing to speak at a conversation. I think it'd be great. I think, you know, if we could get community members to join that conversation, it could, be good conversation for sure.
Yeah, so let's do that. And I think definitely use the garden club as a communications tool, because they're the largest club on Bowen, as far as I know. I think when I went to did a presentation to the garden club, I saw everybody I know that does anything in the community there, or at least somebody in their family. So I think that's a really good.
That'd be great. Good. And I'll keep the committee informed about our conversation with Kim, and then maybe we'd be aiming for mid-July. I mean, realistically, want to get July.
Yeah.
Does that sound like a good way forward?
Let's do it. That sounds great, Bonnie.
Sorry, just for my notes, Bonnie and Carla are calling Kim Stevens. And was someone contacting Garden Club?
We'll do that.
You're doing that as well.
Promotion, yeah. We'll do that part. Yeah, promoting it through them and inviting them for sure.
Okay, thank you, Bonnie. So any more on the work plan?
I just want to add a little bit on this one, just to be respectful of the garden club. I mean, I don't know if there's someone on the garden club who's, you know, has a lot of expertise around water use, but there probably is. So rather than saying, hey, you want to send a note to us because we got this guy who's going to present, ask if they say what the topic is, see if they have someone as well, something like that.
Brilliant. That's very well put, David. Thank you. That's the community way. Yeah. Okay.
You're muted, Bonnie.
The next item was just the BIMTAC. We're supporting BIMTAC where possible. And there was the e-bike, research e-bike options and associated costs. It was kind of that idea of maybe having an e-bike sort of information session. I think maybe we could revisit this in the fall. Just right now, I think with these
Sure.
initiatives, we still got a little bit of time left this year, but I know we've got Councillor Hawking right here, and we also have Annette on our staff here who's been riding an e-bike with her little girl for quite some time, and lots of other users are popping up.
Yeah. And longtime Bowen Islander Kim Honor is kind of a god of e-bikes as well.
Yes, he is. He fixed my e-bike, which was the same as Annette's. BIMTAC is also interested in the exact same topic. Because they've got, bike awareness on their agenda, and we're having a meeting shortly and this will be one of the topics, because we just got the multi-use path finished up, the first chunk of that first hill. So that seemed like then, a good time to promote bike use, and for Bowen Island, e-bikes are so useful for dealing with these difficult hills. So
well, maybe, that would be great to combine our efforts, like have whatever BIMTAC comes up, you could report back to us, David, and
I'll report
and
to
we can
BIMTAC.
see.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Great. And then
Michaela's got her hand out.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that maybe in conjunction with that, arranging something, sort of an information seminar or workshop to talk about road safety, sharing the road both with cars and bikes. That seems to be an area where there's maybe not a complete understanding of the rules of the road, both for cars and bikes sharing it.
Excellent point. Excellent point,
And
Michaela.
that's another BIMTAC topic. They're also very concerned about that because, like frequent bike users like me, it just doesn't feel good a lot of the time when cars pass you on the hills.
Yeah.
Good. So moving forward here, we've got the zero waste households. Maybe we can put that, talk about this item in conjunction with the article that was sent around by David, and Will commented on it about the single-use plastic resources that are available. And we have it for our next agenda.
Excellent.
Steph has filed that away, so that will be relevant to this point on our work plan. And moving down, Steph, thank you. I think we're doing good here. The retrofitting, we're going to be sending out, because of the climate conversation with Patrick Wheeler, there is that resource, federal resource. We'll be sending out some information about that.
Okay.
On a staff level, communicating out that database, or the putting in your postal code and getting some information about who can perform the retrofits.
Make sure that program hasn't already been exhausted.
Okay, right, because it was contingent on budget, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, it opened a little while back. I think it crashed the Natural Resources website.
All right, we'll do that for sure. Good heads up. And then the natural capital preservation. We are doing well on this item. We're right on schedule, June to August, although we're not doing the tree canopy and permeable surface, but as far as the pesticide regulations, we are on schedule for that. Again, I think these are important items. The encourage retention of tree canopy and permeable surfaces for rainwater retention.
Yes.
Very important. Maybe we can, in the interest of time, discuss. We'll be going through the work plan again and see what we can do with that item at a future meeting. And then I think we're getting down there, staff, to yeah, and then the community sustainable grants. So we finished that.
All right. Okay, thank you, Bonnie.
Thanks, Bonnie. That was great.
I think
And
this committee's winning.
Are we winning?
Yeah.
We're winning.
We're winning.
It's amazing.
okay, so now we're coming up to the island plan. I think David, or was it Maureen going to talk about that, or both of you?
I don't know. I don't really have it. I haven't prepared anything or thought through anything. You
I can do it.
you can do it, Maureen? All
I
right.
can do it. Yeah. So the point of having this on the agenda was to sort of spark some conversation or thought about the alignment between our work plan and the strategic priorities that are articulated by council, and getting a sense of how aligned they are or not. And also for us as a committee to think ahead to what might we want to see in the next island plan, and to have that kind of clear, at least in our minds, so that it can feed into the planning process in, I guess, a more transparent way. So the areas where we are currently specifically mentioned in the island plan are priority, where are we? Priority B1, which is strengthen our infrastructure and ecosystems through municipal actions. Priority B2, which is what Steph has highlighted. Priority B3, and then finally carrying on with what's identified in our climate action strategy. So at the moment, all of our work is falling into that resilience strategic commitment. And if you look at the details under those first three priorities, we're supposed to be feeding into discussions of conservation development, the CARIP work, the community energy and emissions plan work, composting, keeping an eye on that to see where it's at, doing our climate conversations, and anything else that's approved in the work plan as resources permit. There is also a site alteration bylaw that's identified in, there you go, the site alteration bylaw that's identified here, and it doesn't specifically link ECAAC with that bylaw. So that's something that you might want to flag. At the moment, Sue Ellen is the designated counselor on that priority, and Bonnie and Daniel are the staff folks. And then finally in that section is ecosystem protection. And that's again, Sue Ellen and Bonnie. So that there are a couple of points even in this island plan that are a little free floating, if I could put it that way. They're not quite as tightly connected to a councillor and to a committee as they might be. And then with B2, Okay, you can see that there's logging, regional park expansion, collaborating with Islands Trust, healthy marine ecosystem, Coastal Douglas Fir Partnership. And again, what exactly it is, Environment and Climate Action Committee is supposed to be doing in relation to those points, it is not clear. And then finally, with priority B3, we've got water management issues. And we're listed as a key committee, but whether there are some expectations around this priority, not clear to me. So I guess for me, the exercise was to bring to the forefront that we have these priorities, we have our work plan. Ideally, there should be some sort of overlap, between the two, and there is in some areas, but in others there isn't. And just thinking about whether that's a concern that we need to do something about this year or in the coming year.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I think it's essential to do this. I think one of the things that I would suggest that the committee members do is review the island plan, and with in one hand have the island plan and have the committee's terms of reference in the other hand, and go through the islands plan and see where we see connections and mark that for discussion in the next committee meeting. I think it would be useful to do that as individuals, and then have a little 10-minute discussion, and then maybe throw it on to someone like me to bring it all together, to all the comments that people have brought up, and so that, and present it to the committee at the next meeting, what we see as those connections. So Bonnie?
That's great. I just wanted to add, because just one, just because we've gone over the work plan. So one key connection I saw there was the site alteration bylaw, although I think the scope might have been somewhat determined by council, but I really see the tree canopy and the increasing permeables, or ensuring permeability are very linked to that site bylaw, whether it's a separate bylaw, but I think that's a linkage right there. But if we hadn't just gone over the work plan, would I have made that linkage? So it's just really important to look at them in tandem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So comments from other committee members? Okay. So, David, are you speaking? I think you're muted.
Yeah, I keep muting myself. Yeah, I really appreciated Maureen's comments on the presentation, because Maureen's doing that work with the committees, and it's really important to make sure that we do have proper connections between the plan and the committee's work plans. So I agree with your suggestion that it would be good for us to have a look. I'll have a look at this and have a little discussion about it. I mean, I've got some things I'm thinking about. Yeah.
So is that going to be an agenda item for next meeting?
I hope so, yes, please.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, and I got the thumbs up from Steph, who makes it all happen. All right. Michaeli?
Should we be sending comments to you directly then, Will?
Yes, please. And I think we'll discuss them too, and we'll add things in discussion. Yeah. Okay. So looking at the agenda, I think we're down to the what is this called?
So
Information item. Sorry. Steph?
The mayor just taught me this trick about having an other business part in there for
Yes.
to come up. I don't think anything has. So
Yep.
we're done.
And so upcoming things is the economic development public engagement town hall coming up on June 23rd. So I think just make sure if you can make it, make it. All right. So that's it. I guess it's time to adjourn. Thank you, everyone, for coming and making your presentations. I'm missing Don. I hope he's not thinking of moving or anything like that. I think he's just busy in an inaccessible part of BC. So hopefully we'll get him back to the next meeting. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yep,
Thank you.